Break. Hey, Sean, The Flash is a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. Kind of surprised it's not higher. Do you think it's going to be one of those cases where critics just like it, but fans are absolutely over the moon? I'm not really sure. It was lower than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting 90s, but I was expecting high 70s, low 80s. That's what I was expecting, and it's low 70s, which is still positive. And it's positive by over 10% margin. I mean, I guess I can look it up real quick where it's at currently. Currently at 71%, so it's dipped just a little bit lower. I think it was in the low 60s for a little bit. It's back up to 71%. I haven't reviewed it to give it my glowing review yet. There's a lot of things kind of going on with this movie. You can just kind of go down to some of the reviews, and I'm just doing this off the spot, but there's some people that have negative reviewed it, and they're negatively reviewing Ezra Miller. There's some fun to be had in the movie, and it's very clever, but it's tough to support a movie with Ezra Miller. That's not a review of the film. It's a review of the behavior of a person. And at the same time, I think if you're trying to have a useful review, there is some validity to, there's people that don't want to support the movie because Ezra Miller is in it. I have tickets to see it opening night. I promoted it on my community tab. It's going to be a little bit of a fan meetup. My mom's actually going to be there. I was planning on taking the kids. And my wife, she's not convinced to go yet because she doesn't want to support Ezra Miller. A reviewer reviewing Ezra Miller rather than the movie, on the one hand, that does actually represent a segment of the audience. And that's kind of the role of the Rotten Tomatoes score, is to try and reflect what percentage of people are likely going to enjoy this film and what percentage aren't going to like it. In theory, someone reviewing Ezra Miller rather than reviewing the movie is useful in that regard. At the same time, if you're a fan of The Flash and just want the movie reviewed and you see like, I can't back this film because I can't back Ezra Miller, you go, wait a minute, why are you knocking the movie, the work of thousands of people, because you don't like one person's personal life? So it's a little bit complicated. So why do I fully think that it's that low? One of my buddies, guy at the movies, he liked it, but just barely, because he thought there was too much humor in it, and the humor undercut some of the emotion. I didn't feel that way. I felt it balanced it really well, and it chose its comedic moments and its dramatic moments well. Some stuff that it does with its third act and its finale might be a little bit polarizing with the nature of what the conflict of the movie is, the actual conflict at the center of it, the nature of the main villain, and how the plot plays out. Some people won't like what it does. I think it fit with trying to do something different with a story and finding a different way to kind of tackle conflict and main villains. I think it fit. But I can see why some people go, ooh, I don't like the way this ends. It is a movie that does multiverse stuff. And so there's, of course, the appearance of Michael Keaton. There's some other nice things in it. That the amount of enjoyment, how special the movie feels, perhaps relies on the amount of mileage you get out of some of that. Some of the mileage you get out of, like, I'm seeing Michael Keaton again for the first time in 30 years. So some people ask me, did I like The Flash or No Way Home more? I like The Flash more, distinctly more, because both of them kind of delivered that nostalgia, wow, I'm seeing them again experience, but I felt this one had a much stronger story and setup, which I've repeatedly had my issues with No Way Home, while still think it was a fantastic experience. This movie didn't have that negative. If you're someone that doesn't quite have the same connections to some of these DC characters and Michael Keaton, it plays differently for you, and it doesn't mean quite as much. And the CGI is bad. Period. The CGI in the movie is bad. So if that's something that diminishes a film for you, that is an objective critique. Nothing subjective. The CGI I don't know what exactly they were thinking. I don't know why it looks the way it does, but it's not good. So that's an objective issue, but I would have expected more like 80%. I was disappointed to see it was as low as 72%. But DC movies tend to have always feel kind of a large percentage of them feel like they lean a little bit lower than most of what Marvel MCU films have gotten. Perhaps a little bit of it is, we're in a year where this is already the fourth comic book movie. And there's a side to it of it's a movie that maybe it's just polarizing, that a bunch of people, if you buy into it, you love it. I loved it. And a lot of the early buzz was people loving it, but the early buzz was people that were like primed to be the target demographic. And maybe it's a movie that just, if you're not into the multiverse stuff, if you're not into just these big spectacle films with the fan service, you just feel like, I've already seen that. There's quite a few direct similarities with Across the Spider-Verse. If you like are just average Joe that's not super duper into comic book world, it's really unfortunate that these movies came out so close to each other, because one of them is like this much more artistic film, literally with the art in it, and it does it 2 weeks before The Flash does some similar things. There's very similar elements. And all of a sudden, this one feels a little bit late, a little bit stale. You don't like the lead actor in the film. You don't like DC where they're at. You're a little bit tired of these. And so the score's a little bit lower than maybe it should be. Most of these clips are pulled from my weekly Patreon live stream. Join at any level and you can join the chat and ask all the questions you want. That's for as little as $2 per month. For $5 per month, you can get your name on my end card. For $25 per month, you can have a monthly video chat with me. Link is in the description for more details, and keep talking movies and TV too much.